The IRS hearings have been a big topic over the last few days. Arkansas Congressman Tim Griffin been a part of those hearings, and he joins us live to talk more about it. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
I don't know where to start with Benghazi or the AP, but I think the IRS is probably maybe the most major of the three. Do you think?
Well, they're all very different, and they all have a number of troubling questions that are not yet answered. And you know, with Benghazi, we lost American lives, and so that makes it different than the other two, but they're all troubling.
But on the Ways and Means Committee, you guys have been looking into this over the last few days, but do you think we need a special prosecutor to go deeper? Because apparently, from what we understand, the government knew about this or the House knew about this 2 years, for about the last 2 years, and we've been unable to get any answers out of this.
Sure.
Why should we be confident that Congress is going to get answers now?
Well, I think the difference is, first of all, I don't think at this point we need a special prosecutor. A special prosecutor would work for Eric Holder, the Attorney General, for whom I've...
What about an independent counsel then?
Well, that law does not exist anymore. That's a different... really, I think Congress can get to the bottom of this. I think the Ways and Means Committee has a lot of tools at its disposal. I think we have a constitutional obligation, Congress does, both parties, to conduct vigorous oversight of the executive branch. I think in the past, we asked a lot of questions about this, but no one knew precisely what was happening. Now we know there was something going on. We know that the White House counsel knew about this months ago, and we know that that the questions that we asked last week were only barely answered. Many of them weren't answered at all. So there are a lot more questions to ask on the IRS issue, and the committee is going to continue to do that. But it represents an abuse of power. There's no question about that. Laws, I believe, were probably broken. We're going to get to the bottom of it.
Mitch McConnell on the Sunday show yesterday really went out of his way not to tie the president to this, but rather to say we just need to let the investigation run its course. Is that?
Well, look,
do you think there's a? Are you going to let the investigation run its course?
The facts need to speak for themselves, and whatever the facts indicate is where we ought to. Is what we ought to base our conclusion on.
However, he did also say that there is a culture of intimidation with this administration. Is that your perception as well?
Well, I do believe that I think there is a thread that goes through the AP story and this story that sort of represents an overreach by this administration. But the IRS issue is particularly troubling because we have given our most expansive powers to our most intrusive agency. And it was pretty apparent to me that the gentleman who was the acting head of the IRS, who's now going to retire, it was pretty clear to me last week that he wasn't particularly outraged. He wasn't particularly contrite. And, you know, he'll still get his full pension and everything will be just fine. I think there's a lot more to learn here, and we've just got to stay at it. It's our obligation to do it, and we got to do it.
We're going to have to leave it at that. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.